You may have seen this video of Elon Musk at the DealBook Summit doing the rounds recently.
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go f*** yourself.
But what you may have missed was that during the same interview, Musk weighed in with his thoughts on labour unions at his various companies.
I disagree with the idea of unions, but perhaps for a reason that is different than people may expect, which is I just don't like anything which creates kind of a lords and peasants sort of thing. And I think the unions naturally try to create negativity in a company and create a sort of lords and peasants situation.
The Tesla boss and world's richest man has had a long and checkered past when it comes to his employees organising. His most recent comments come at a time when he is currently embattled in struggles against unions and sympathy strikes in Sweden, Finland, Denmark and Norway to sign a collective bargaining agreement with Tesla employees in Sweden. Despite the irony of an individual worth north of $200 billion worried about a lords and peasants situation, Musk's resistance to collective bargaining agreements reflects a broader debate about the future of labour rights in an increasingly globalised economy. As Tesla expands its operations internationally, the question remains, can a business model that has thrived in the US reconcile with the entrenched labour practices of Europe, especially in regions with strong historical union traditions? So today, let's take a deep dive into Tesla's opposition to labour unions and why Musk's current stance in Sweden most likely won't go his way. Before we step further into the story, we need to take a look at the past to understand what unions are and why they've been historically seen as beneficial for economies. Unions are organisations that represent the collective interests of workers, negotiating with employers to secure better wages, safer working conditions, and more equitable labour practices. Across the world, they've been instrumental in establishing the 40-hour workweek, minimum wage laws, and benefits that many of us take for granted today. Unions give a voice to workers who might otherwise be overlooked, balancing the power dynamics that naturally exist between massive corporations and the individual employee. If negotiations between the union and the employer break down, their members can go on strike, potentially causing financial damage to the employer and forcing them back to the negotiating table. Unions exist in all kinds of industries, and generally speaking, they're financed through member dues, which are small contributions made from union member wages. As of January 2023, Tesla employs over 127,000 workers across the world, none of which are unionised. Despite allegations of high injury rates, long hours, and below industry pay, efforts to unionise the workforce have been largely unsuccessful. Notably, Tesla stands as the sole major car manufacturer in the United States without a unionised workforce. Back in 2010, Tesla planted its flag in the historically unionised NUMMI plant in Fremont, California. This facility, reborn as the Tesla Fremont factory, would become the battleground for a series of labour disputes that underscored the tension between the company's cutting-edge image and traditional labour practices. The rumblings of discontent really came to a head in autumn of 2016, when Jose Moran, a Tesla employee, reached out to the UAW, the United Auto Workers. By February 2017, Moran had gone public with the Fair Future at Tesla campaign, painting a grim picture of the working conditions at Tesla. The UAW, sensing both an opportunity and a cause, threw its weight behind the movement, investing over $400,000 in organising efforts. Not long after, Tesla fired multiple individuals involved in the organising for alleged poor performance. The UAW said that other workers were intimidated, harassed, and disciplined unfairly. It issued statements from what it said were union supporters at Tesla who were dismissed despite not having any problems on their reviews. One of these workers, Mike Williams, stated, "I worked hard for this company for 5 years. sometimes 72 hours a week, and never had any performance-related complaints. I did, however, wear a union shirt. These firings sparked a legal showdown that saw Tesla on the defensive, accused of illegal retaliation by the National Labour Relations Board. In a tweet from 2018, Musk asserted that nothing was stopping his employees from unionising, though he questioned the value of doing so. This tweet, with its implications that unionising could cost workers their stock options, landed Musk and Tesla in hot water. The National Labour Relations Board ordered the deletion of the tweet and mandated corrective actions. But these legal skirmishes have done little to dampen Musk's rhetoric. In March 2022, he threw down the gauntlet yet again, inviting the UAW to hold a union vote, a move met with skepticism by union leaders who called for Tesla to acknowledge its previous unlawful actions. Further complications arose with reports of Tesla hiring a public relations firm to spy on its own employee discussions in private Facebook groups about labour practices and unionization efforts, a revelation that adds a layer of surveillance and suspicion to the already strained relations between the company and its workforce. The union busting at Tesla continued in February 2023 as workers at the Gigafactory in New York, emboldened perhaps by successful union drives at nearby Starbucks, announced their own unionization efforts with Workers United. And this went about as well as you'd expect.
Workers at a Tesla factory in Buffalo, New York say dozens of employees were laid off because they tried to unionize. The layoffs came a day after workers at the factory announced their union organizing campaign. The union they hoped to join has now filed a complaint with the federal government.
The saga of unionization at Tesla presents a stark contrast between the company's pioneering technology and its adherence to outdated labor practices. Tesla's resistance to unions in its American operations has been as consistent as its technological advancements. Despite numerous allegations of unfavorable working conditions and retaliatory firings, union efforts have been systematically undermined. This narrative of resistance sets the stage for the Swedish conflict, where Tesla's anti-union stance meets a new challenge: Sweden's robust labour laws and a culture with deep-rooted union traditions. The unfolding events in Sweden could signal a pivotal shift in Tesla's labour relations, as the company confronts the formidable structure of European labour unions and the potential repercussions of its union-busting tactics in a region that fiercely protects workers' rights. So, what's different about Tesla's latest union-busting efforts in Sweden? Tesla doesn't manufacture cars in Sweden, but it does have dealerships and service centres with Tesla employees. Many of the mechanics and service centre staff are part of IF Metal, a powerful Swedish labour union. When Tesla refused to sign a collective bargaining agreement with the union workers initiated a strike. The agreement would establish a framework for wages, benefits and working conditions for all Tesla employees in country, not just those who are part of the union. Collective bargaining agreements are standard practice in Sweden, which enjoys some of the most comprehensive and protective labour laws in the world. More than 90% of Swedish workers, including 80% of private sector employees, are protected by collective bargaining agreements, which basically oblige employers to provide certain minimum standards and guarantees. Tesla's stance is seen as a violation of basic principles in the Swedish labour market. Tesla employs 120 workers in Sweden. The strike initially affected mechanics at 7 workshops servicing only Tesla vehicles, but this later expanded to include other facilities. Workers at these secondary locations continued their work on cars as normal, but if a Tesla rolled into the shop, they simply refused to work on it. As the media picked up on the strike and the story spread, other trade unions have joined through their own solidarity strikes. Solidarity strikes are illegal in many countries across the world, including the United States, but they're legal and enjoy a rich history within Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Norway. Inevitably, the IF Metal strike spread to many different industries within Sweden, with dock workers blocking the loading and unloading of Tesla cars at port, and electricians halting their services to the car giant. Even Sweden's postal service refused to deliver license plates in solidarity with the strikers. As the strikers dragged on, unions across other Scandinavian countries began to coalesce their support behind the region's deeply entrenched principles of collective bargaining. Just last week, Denmark's largest trade union declared a sympathy strike aimed at halting Tesla cars being delivered to Sweden via Danish ports. Following this, Norway's largest private sector union signalled it would also obstruct any shipments of the vehicles from Norwegian ports bound for Sweden. Then, a Finnish transport workers union pledged that they would also participate in the effort to blockade Tesla's cars bound for Sweden. One of Denmark's largest pension funds then announced it had sold its entire holdings of Tesla stock over the company's refusal to enter into agreements with IF Metal. It's clear that Tesla's policy of not pursuing collective bargaining is meeting a broad ideological stalemate in the region. The fight appears to have taken on a symbolic dimension for workers across the Nordic states. It's seen as a battle against anti-unionism and a test case for the future of collective bargaining in a globalized economy. IF Metal wants to send a message that even powerful companies like Tesla can't escape the collective bargaining system in Sweden. To put it another way, the Scandinavian unions are telling Musk and Tesla to play by their rules, or
Go f*** yourself.
For now, it appears that Musk has miscalculated. Scandinavian unions understand that if IF Metal capitulates to Tesla, then this might trigger a weakening of future collective bargaining agreements across all industries within the region. Musk's standoff with unions across Scandinavia isn't merely a battle of wills, but a fundamental clash of cultures and business ethics. Tesla's approach, which has upended automotive industry norms in the United States, is now testing the robust, union-supported labour frameworks of Northern Europe. With each act of solidarity, from dock workers to postal employees, the movement against Tesla's anti-union stance grows, not just in numbers, but in the collective conscience of a region where labour rights are deeply embedded into the societal fabric. The outcome of this dispute might not only decide the future of Tesla's operations in Scandinavia, but could also influence the global conversation on workers' rights in the modern economy. As we watch this saga unfold, it serves as a stark reminder that in the global economy, respecting local labour traditions isn't just good ethics, it's good business. For Tesla, the road ahead in Scandinavia might require a shift in philosophy, from a siloed approach to one that embraces the collective spirit of the workforce. For Elon Musk, it's a moment to reassess not just the costs and benefits on a spreadsheet, but the values that define his companies.